David, such a pleasure to welcome you. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
My pleasure.
David, you have been on the circuit for many years, a great influencer, fabulous investor. We are at the PanIIT conference, so I have to ask the technology questions. How do you see technology and, as the case just asked you, the AI thing specifically evolving, and where do you see the human good that will come out of technology? That's the most important question, I think.
Well, humankind has benefited from technology for hundreds of years. People are always afraid new technology is going to ruin the world or ruin humanity, but hasn't yet really happened. The only technology that I think has come along that potentially could ruin humanity is the nuclear weapon, of course, or hydrogen bombs. But we put those in a situation where it's relatively unlikely that that atomic bombs are going to go off and ruin all of humanity. So I think technology generally works well. We need to control it. We need to make sure it's monitored and regulated. But I think AI is not something that's going to ruin humanity. If anything, it's going to make humanity better, and that's my view. I'm obviously optimistic, but we're really at the very beginning of AI. We just don't know yet what the impact is going to be, so we have a long way to go.
The other important question is about leadership, and no better person to ask than you. Good leaders, obviously provide good leadership, empower a lot of other leaders, but we also need mavericks to create disruption in industries. Two sides of the coin. What is your take on the right kind of leadership?
Well, leaders are generally mavericks. People that, let's say, Steve Jobs, he was a maverick. Bill Gates, a maverick. Jeff Bezos, a maverick. They did things that people said couldn't be done. So if you're going to be a leader in the entrepreneurial business world, you've got to do something people think isn't easily done, and you tend to be a maverick, and you tend to be people who are often not liked by other people. Sometimes the great entrepreneurs are not very popular with their peers because they're pushing through walls. So Steve Jobs is not an easy guy to work with, for example, and Bill Gates in his early days was not easy to work with. So I think we do have a lot of mavericks that go into business, and I think we'll continue to do that, in part because the rewards are pretty good if you can build something that changes the world and get the financial benefits from it. So I'm pretty happy with the way the system works right now.
Continuing on the topic of leadership, America has been the forefront of technology leadership and global leadership for a long time. There's no other place. I'm a very strong proponent of Silicon Valley. I live in that area. There's no other place like it. Other people have tried, but only so much. So it's not about geography. It's not about money. I think it's the mindset. And to have the right mindset, we have to continue on this leadership track. Where do you think America should focus on with the younger generation, especially many feel that our education is not up to par when it comes to Asian nations?
Well, it's very interesting that all the technologies that Americans and Western Europeans now depend on are American technologies. Why are there no European technologies that are equivalent to what we built in America? It's a very sad situation because Europe has a lot of great technology, but they haven't yet developed something that's as good as the American ones. The Americans are really good at building technology. Silicon Valley has been a leader. Most of the great technologies we're now dependent on came out of Silicon Valley, more or less, with some exceptions. So I think that will probably continue for some time. There's a unique blend of talent and capitalism and entrepreneurial spirit in Silicon Valley. Whether that can be replicated in Austin or Miami, I'm not sure.
Yeah. Finally, then, about the Indian diaspora in general and IITs in particular. We were at the U.S. Capitol yesterday for the acknowledgement. Wanted to, you have a great global perspective yourself. Why does it take an environment and ecosystem like the U.S. or Silicon Valley in particular for these great guys to come and prosper and be able to contribute? Two questions. One is, why does it take this much, and how these guys can then contribute not just to India but across the globe, starting from the U.S.?
Well, very often it's hard to replicate something that is very unique. And so in India and other countries in the world, there are very good entrepreneurs. There are very good abilities to get companies off the ground. But the United States is a unique blend. It has an enormous amount of wealth, highly educated workforce, a work ethic in this country, and a feeling that if you build something really great, the world can be changed and made better. And so I think people tend to be rewarded that way. And I think in some countries in the world, people don't really want great entrepreneurs. In some countries in the world, people say, look, Johnny, don't work so hard over the weekend. Play soccer, play baseball, play football. And so parents in America really do incent their kids, and I think to achieve something, and that's very unique in some ways. And I think the American culture really breeds that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, even though, ironically, entrepreneur is not a word that was invented in the English language. It's a French word.
Last question, David, is personally, if you were not the investor that you are, looking at the technology in the last 20 years, would you have changed your mind if you had this opportunity of getting into technology at the ground level?
Well, I passed on some really great things. I passed on Netscape. I passed on Facebook. I passed on Amazon. These are things I could have invested in early, and I said no, they weren't going to work. So I'm not that great a technology investor. I really rely on other people to tell me what's good technologies. I'm usually what's called a last adopter. When the technology is just about ended, that's when I get ready to use it.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Appreciate that very much.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.